Okay, Hare Krishna. So we are there's a prasadam for you if you want. So we are starting our class tonight, ISKCON Disciples Course, Acting in Relationship to the Guru. This is Unit 3. We're continuing from last week, Part 2. Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastri Koi, Lavamatra Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Siddhi Koi. The verdict of all the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that by even a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. Sorry, my PowerPoint presentations are not, the font is not working right, but we'll do the best we can tonight. Behaving appropriately in the presence of the Guru. This is from the official ISKCON Disciples Course, which I also teach. We teach it basically online, and sometimes somebody will come here and watch this, which is also being streamed to different places. So, behaving appropriately in the presence of the Guru. Rules of etiquette for a disciple from the Hari Bhakti Vilas. These are some rules. One should fall down like an uprooted tree, dandavat, on seeing the spiritual master. 2, when the Guru approaches, he should face him, and when he leaves, he should follow him. He should not leave the spiritual master's presence without asking permission. He should not utter the spiritual master's name inattentively, but always with respect. He should not imitate the gait, activities, or voice of the spiritual master. We may naturally walk in a certain way, but we should not imitate. Sometimes that imitation may be taken or seem to others, even to ourselves, as maybe a critical thing of the spiritual master. But so we should not imitate. He should always hold the spiritual master's words in great respect. This is a fact. Without the spiritual master, then no one can make any spiritual advancement. It's not simply not possible. We cannot approach Krishna directly. We cannot approach Krishna directly. We cannot just say, Krishna, you tell me directly what needs to be done, what I need to do. We always have to go through the spiritual master, and the spiritual master, of course, is receive this knowledge through the disciplic succession, which ultimately starts with Lord Krishna. But we cannot jump over the spiritual master, and therefore, as it says here, the disciple should always hold the spiritual master's words in great respect. Though he may be punished by the spiritual master, he should not take it unkindly. That may be sometimes hard, false ego. Spiritual master may chastise the disciple for something done improperly, but the disciple should take it as the spiritual master's mercy, his blessings. He should not take it as why is my spiritual master being so mean to me? He should take it as as a blessing. That the spiritual master is giving him some guidance so he can advance on the spiritual path. Srila Prabhupada would, he said sometimes he was as hard as a thunderbolt, and sometimes he was as soft as a rose. It worked both ways. But in the case of Srila Prabhupada, he would sometimes show anger when the time required it. He would show anger, but then after he showed so much anger, and a disciple or maybe a group of disciples became very afraid and worried about the offenses and Srila Prabhupada's anger, and then Srila Prabhupada the next moment he would simply be smiling and his whole mood would change. And what does that mean? It means that Srila Prabhupada was showing anger, but he was not controlled by the anger. And that's the difference between a pure devotee and a conditioned soul. In the conditioned souls, we become angry sometimes. We become angry, but then we tend to become controlled by that anger, do things we shouldn't have done, say things that we shouldn't have said. Sometimes people, hopefully not devotees too much, but in general, people become angry and they even kill people, and a lot of problems come out of being under the control of anger. But a pure devotee of Krishna, he can show anger for the purpose of teaching others about how to become Krishna conscious, but he's not controlled by that anger. Because when we look at Bhagavad Gita, there's a series of verses, well, 2 verses in particular, by contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment. From that attachment, then lust arises. From lust, then anger comes, and from anger, bewilderment of the memory, and then the intelligence is lost, and then when the intelligence is completely lost, then we go back down even to the lower species of life. So that anger, which is the result of frustrated lust, we desire some to enjoy, or we desire to have, desire to enjoy material enjoyment. That's lust, in any form of enjoyment, and the desire to just possess, like I am the Lord of the Orasave, this is everything I see is mine. That desire, that lust or that greed, when our desires like that become frustrated, then the result is then we become angry. Anyway, here we're talking about the spiritual master, and this should be I'll speak in terms of Srila Prabhupada, perfect spiritual master, right? He should, though he may be punished by the spiritual master, he should not take it unkindly, because the spiritual master is never under the control of material nature, and his punishment or his chastisement will help the disciple. Going on, he should not bear to hear criticism of the spiritual master, the scriptures, or the Lord, but should leave the place immediately. Yes, generally we this is a basic statement. If we're not capable of immediately counteracting the criticism with strong arguments, against whatever the statement that was made. If we cannot counteract that with strong arguments and not be affected by the criticism that we've heard or that we've read, if we cannot do that, then the best thing is just get out of the place. Or if that criticism came in the form of something that somebody wrote, somebody put some blasphemous words out there on the internet or somewhere, you find it somewhere, then we should avoid it. We should get away from it. We shouldn't sit there and meditate on this or start contemplating. Well, see, why are they thinking like that? Maybe there's some truth in it. Why how could they make such a mistake? Anyway, if we see these things, generally we just avoid it. And if someone is spiritually strong enough and spiritually knowledgeable enough to make proper arguments against it and try even to correct the person who is criticizing the guru or criticizing the scriptures or criticizing the Lord, if we're able to do that, then that's even better. But we should not take a chance of ruining our own spiritual lives by just listening to or reading and contemplating and keeping these kind of things in our mind, because that would definitely drag us down. He should not step on the spiritual master's garland, his bed, his shoes, his asana, even his shadow or table. So, yeah, what the spiritual master's possessions are also considered to be sacred. His flower garland, because he's worn it, is Mahaprasadam. His bed, his shoes, his asana, his sitting place, even his shadow. We should avoid stepping on the shadow of the spiritual master. He should not spread his legs before the spiritual master, nor should he yawn, laugh, or make disrespectful noises before him. The main point here is we should not be disrespectful. Spreading the legs, also in front of the deities. We don't. In Nectar Devotion, there are many rules and regulations, chapter 8, and we should not sit down, and we should basically sit like you're sitting there. And when you get a little bit older and your legs don't bend like that anymore, then you have to sit in a chair like I am. But we should not sit in a way with our legs pointing, our legs open, or legs pointing towards the deities or towards the spiritual master. It's considered to be disrespectful. So going on. He should not sit on an asana or bed before the spiritual master. Usually the disciple will sit, if he is sitting before the spiritual master, he should be sitting in a lower position, lower level. Srila Prabhupada even actually tells a story of himself and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he was invited, somehow he was in the room with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was sitting like on a chair or a couch, and Srila Prabhupada, without thinking about it, just sat down on the couch. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta didn't say anything to him, but Srila Prabhupada, who was known as Abhay back then, Abhay Chand, he looked, and all the disciples were sitting on the floor. So he didn't say anything, and no one said anything to him. But he said he never sat there again. It's just the etiquette. Of course, Srila Prabhupada was a special devotee too, for sure. but he didn't. But he did make that point that it was not proper that you sit on the same level with the spiritual master as a general rule. He should not worship others in preference to the spiritual master. He should not give diksha, I think it's supposed to be, spiritual explanations or show superiority in front of the spiritual master. Yeah. Generally, I mean, the etiquette was, as Srila Prabhupada certainly requested that or required that during his presence, that his disciples should not be initiating disciples in front, while Srila Prabhupada was still physically present. He set up the system for initiating, for carrying on the initiations, yes, for sure. But he said, while I'm present, you accept these disciples, those who were being given that opportunity to start. While I'm still here, while I'm still present, you accept these disciples, but they're on behalf of me. They're my disciples. And then when he, and Srila Prabhupada says, but when I'm gone, when I've passed away, then those who are initiating, they become your disciples, and you train them up the same way I've trained you up. This is the system. But as a rule, you shouldn't. Now I know in ISKCON now there's sometimes certain gurus are allowing or authorizing their disciples to accept disciples on even while the guru is still there. So apparently it's it's an etiquette, but you have the permission of the spiritual master, and for the sake of spreading this movement, then these things are allowed. But at least during Srila Prabhupada's presence, he didn't want anyone else accepting disciples, his disciples accepting disciples while he was still present, and he wanted many gurus, many of his disciples, and future generations to accept disciples in years and generations to come for the purpose of spreading this movement. He should not give orders to the spiritual master, but always obey him. It seems obvious. How do you, who would go to the spiritual master and you must do this, you must do that. But all, in another sense, what it is, this means also, and this came up in a previous class, that you also shouldn't go in front to the spiritual master and start showing off your what you may consider very vast learning on some subject. The mood should not be like that. The mood should be, like Srila Prabhupada said, in front of the spiritual master, you should feel like a fool. You should feel like a fool. He didn't say you should act like a fool. He said you should feel like a fool. In fact, many years ago, I joined the movement in Gainesville, Florida, way back then, and Srila Prabhupada visited the temple then. And when Srila Prabhupada was about to come, temple president made that statement. He says, you should, in front of Srila Prabhupada, everyone should feel like a fool, but don't act like one. So that's the idea. He should treat the spiritual master with similar respect. So at the time that Srila Prabhupada was the only spiritual master in ISKCON, then it means, of course, we show all respect to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And in more present times, we have so many gurus in ISKCON, so we show them respect, but of course we show their spiritual master respect, who generally would be Srila Prabhupada at this point, and sometimes it's another guru, but they should also be shown respect. He should treat the wife, son, and relatives of the spiritual master as a spirit. He should treat the wife, the son, and the relatives of the spiritual master as a spiritual master, but he should not clean the body of the son, take his remnants, or wash his feet. So it means we should be respectful to the whole family of the guru. But it's not that the whole family. The point is here, should not clean the body of the son, take the son's remnants, or wash his feet. It's not that they're exactly on the same level, but they should be shown respect anyway. And these are all qualifications of a bona fide spiritual master written in the Hari Bhakti Vilas. So another point here, personally serve the spiritual master by giving him bodily comforts. Now we're going to the section on Guru Vapu Seva. There are two kinds of service and two kinds of association. Service and association are related. One is called Vani, and one is called Vapu. I think last week we were talking about Vani. So this week we're talking now about Vapu. Vapu means serving the body. So the words guru, I'm not sure what that word was. The words guru something means that one should personally serve the spiritual master by giving him bodily comforts, helping him in bathing, dressing, sleeping, eating, and so on. This is called Guru Praivapu. A disciple should serve the spiritual master as a menial servant, and whatever he has in his possession should be dedicated to the spiritual master. So we'll go on here. As hard as a thunderbolt and as soft as a rose. An acharya, or great personality of the Vaishnava school, is very strict in his principles. But although he is as hard as a thunderbolt, sometimes he is as soft as a rose. Thus, actually, he is. Actually, I never finished this slide. I'm sorry. So, anyway, the point was, as I was saying before, the acharya is he's not controlled by it. He's not controlled by anger. He only does what is favorable for teaching Krishna consciousness to others. And so sometimes towards that end, sometimes it will be very hard to correct disciples. But not only disciples, to correct, Srila Prabhupada would be, he preached to a lot of different people. And sometimes people, non-devotees, will come up with very not good arguments against Krishna consciousness, the principles of Krishna consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada would especially if their arguments had anything to do with Mayavad philosophy, influenced by Mayavad philosophy. He would be very strong. We say in our prayers to Srila Prabhupada that you've come to our respectful obeisances to you, because you've come to this Western world to free this world from impersonalism and voidism. Voidism basically means like Buddhist, and impersonalism is like what Sankaracharya was teaching. Of course, Sankaracharya, although we know him as a presenting the whole impersonalist type philosophy, but Sankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is a great devotee of the Lord. So you think, how can a great devotee of the Lord come and teach something against the Lord? So the understanding is that these great acharyas, and Sankaracharya is also a great acharya in this sense. They understand what the highest truth is. They understand the highest truth. They know what the ultimate goal is, and they teach the people they teach the people during that are their audience at that particular time in history. They teach them whatever they can understand, as much as they can understand, so they can gradually move towards the higher understanding, of the full understanding of pure love of Krishna. So there's the history. I'm going a little bit off the what you'll see here to support this because there's something wrong with my file here, and I'm missing part of the PowerPoint presentation. So let me just explain on this because it's interesting and it's related. The Vedic scriptures gave Vedic scriptures are considered to be like desire trees, like desire tree. Desire tree means an actual desire tree in the spiritual world means you can get any kind of fruit, any kind of flower, anything that you desire. That tree will produce it for you just by you desiring it. So the Vedic scriptures are like that. They provide everything that we might want, whether it's material or spiritual. So, of course, the real point of the Vedas is that we should become Krishna conscious. That's the essence of it. But most people are not, at any one time in their history and in existence in the material world, most people are not thinking about that yet. They're thinking, they want so many material things. So the Vedas very much discouraged, for example, eating meat. It's not at all favorable for spiritual life. But some people will eat it anyway. So the Vedas gives a religious way that you can do it, which is not encouraged, but it's a way to actually try to get people to. It's a restriction. Okay, you can do it, but here's the restriction. And that process was that if you really wanted to eat meat in that Vedic culture, then you had to worship the goddess Kali, and there's only one night in a month that you could do this. One particular night, not just one night, but one particular night in a month that you could worship the goddess Kali, and the animal that you wanted to eat, you had to kill the animal yourself. And there's a whole ritual. I don't know all the details of it. There was a lot of restrictions on how it was done. And part of the ritual was that before you personally had to kill the animal, you had to say in the ear of the animal that I'm going to, because I cannot control my senses, so now I'm going to kill you in front of the goddess Kali, and therefore, but I know that in my next lifetime, you are going to kill me in the same way. So and they had to, they're saying it, they're thinking, and it happens like that. So it was. I mean, people today, in modern times, if every time somebody wanted to eat meat, they had to go out and get an animal and kill it and know that they're going to be killed in the same way in the future, they would not be so likely to do it. So this was being done then, but it got out of hand. People just started the temples started becoming like slaughterhouses, and any animal at any time, any way, were being killed, and it was just becoming it was just the whole human society was becoming animalistic. So at that time, that's when Lord Buddha came. Lord Buddha came to the rescue. So Lord Buddha came, and he came specifically to stop that tendency of animal slaughter. But people would argue that, but the Vedas say that we can do it. See, I said right here in this injunction, you can do like this and this and this. So, and we accept the Vedas. He says, but so he convinced them, you reject the Vedas. You know, you just reject the Vedas because they were completely abusing them and missing the whole point. So you reject. And then he taught his own system of nonviolence. And Lord Buddha had a lot of good things to say, a lot of good statements from him. So, but it required that you reject the Vedas. And he taught something which is, well, we call it voidism now. So there was actually, in his teachings, there was actually no God. There was really nothing. Perfection was nothingness, voidism. But at least a lot of people gave up eating meat. So that was at least, you're not degrading yourself so much. So after a long time, I think some hundreds of years later, then Ramanujacharya, one of our big acharyas in our line, he came and he taught a philosophy based on, oh no, I'm sorry, not yet. Sankaracharya came. Sankaracharya was the next. So Sankaracharya, he taught something which was actually just covered Buddhism. He basically was teaching the same thing, but he accepted the Vedas, but with an impersonal twist, because it was to go from there's no Vedas, there's no God, and all of a sudden the full truth in the Vedas, people wouldn't have been able to accept it. So he taught what people could had a chance at least to understand, so they accepted the Vedas, but it was he really emphasized certain verses in the Bhagavad Gita, the Vedanta Sutra, that kind of hinted at impersonalism. He would really emphasize those. So those who followed him got the idea that everything was impersonal, it's all one, like that. But at least they were starting to accept the Vedas, even though they were still way off of the full truth. And then after some time, then Ramanujacharya came, and Ramanujacharya taught a philosophy that was called I forget what it was called. It was a variation of anyway, I forget the name of it. He taught a philosophy that started to accept, okay, there actually is a God. There is actually a God, and then another later on, long time later, Madhvacharya came. We see pictures of Madhvacharya like this, not peace. It means dualism. So he taught dualism, and dualism means that he accepted the Vedas, and he made, okay, there's God and there's a living entity, but they're completely different. There's nothing between. There's nothing similar between God and the living entity, which was a good step forward, but it's still not complete. And then, in due course, then Lord Chaitanya came and defeated all these other philosophies, and he taught the philosophy that we have now, which is called Shincha Veda Tattva, which means one and different simultaneously. So there's God, there's a living entity, and there obviously there's differences. We're not God. We're not God. But we are eternal, as God is eternal. We're full in knowledge, in our capacity. He also is full in knowledge. And our nature is to be always blissful. And his nature is also to be completely blissful. And it goes deeper than that, but that's so the point is that that this knowledge has been the acharyas have presented this knowledge in different ways at different times. They all knew the truth. Sankaracharya knew the full truth. Ramanujacharya knew the full truth. Madhvacharya knew the full truth. And of course, Lord Chaitanya knew the full truth and taught the full truth. But they were teaching what the people at that time could understand to gradually move people in general towards the final ultimate goal of what Lord Chaitanya taught, which the goal of that is love of God, pure love of God. So that's what these big acharyas have done. So I think that's all I'm going to speak on tonight. I'm sorry, half of my PowerPoint presentation is not here properly, so we'll have to continue next week. But are there any questions or comments? Okay. Okay. Well, then no questions. Then we'll end here. Make sure that no one sent any comments. No one. Okay, so we'll end here. Thank you very much. We'll, if you're around, you live around here? Colorado. You're all from Colorado? You're here. Okay. Well, next Wednesday we'll have our next session, and I'll have my presentation proper. We've got, I think, 3 or 4 more sessions, and some devotees are taking the course online, which means the homework and everything they're doing. But for everyone else who's not signed up to take the course, we're still making the presentation each week like this. Try to give everyone a chance. And if you want to sign up on our temple newsletter email list on our ISKCON Miami website, then you'll get notices and the links for these classes also. Go to our website, ISKCON Miami Inc. I mean, ISKCONmiami.org. ISKCON Miami.org. You see if you go to the website, and at the top you'll see it says menu. You click on the menu, and then there's a somewhere in the menu that says join our email list. If you do that, then you'll be notified of all of our. We'll send out emails at least once or twice a week, and these classes will also be there with the links if you want to click on them and join where they're streamed to. We're streaming to different YouTube and Facebook sites that I have access to, like that. Okay, so thank you for staying. So end here. Thank you for coming. Hare Krishna. You too. Enjoy your prasadam.